Woo. Hey folks! Let's just wind that volume down. How you doing? Nick Jennison, this is the Monday Guitar Show. Welcome on board. Apparently, the framing has changed somewhat and the top of my head is cut off the top of the camera, but that's okay, we can live with that. Guys, how you doing? Welcome on board. We're doing the thing that we do every Monday, which is hang out and talk about the guitar. And specifically, today, we are discussing practice. It's the beginning of a new month, but this month is not practice themed. No. This month is themed around small wins that you can make with your guitar playing in a surprisingly small amount of time. So something we've had a lot of requests for from our Lick Library members is that a lot of the lesson content, while folks are really enjoying it and seeing a lot of benefit from it, it's quite a time investment for a lot of people. So what we've elected to do is we've decided it's probably a good idea if we gave you some content that was themed around easy, quick wins. And I like this because this is something that is, it's a nice challenge for me, but also I think it's something that's really useful for a lot of guitar players, especially when you're very busy. I'm in a very busy period of my own life right now. So I am currently looking at ways that I can optimize my own personal practice into like a small, more condensed form, let's say. But we'll talk more about that in a second. First of all, though, we're going to say some hellos, but I want to remind you that today's stream is brought to you by our friends at licklibrary.com and guitarinteractivemagazine.com. Go to licklibrary.com for news, reviews, sorry, that's the other one. Go to licklibrary.com for lessons. All of the lessons you could ever need, you'll find at licklibrary.com. Go to guitarinteractivemagazine.com for news, reviews, interviews, all that other non-lesson related stuff. You'll also find over at Lick Library a course from yours truly, which is coming your way on the subject of easy wins. Now, if you're looking for something that is a nice short-term fix, we have some of these other courses that are doing the same thing. Rich Shaw has a really great course on 5-minute guitar fixes, which is quite cool. Rich is a great player, lovely lad, and a fantastic teacher. We also have a similar thing from Sam Bell, and we've got my own personal favorite of my courses, which is technique hotfixes. More hotfixes are coming your way soon, by the way. We've got more of those coming. Do like the hotfixes thing, so more of that is on its way. While we are on the subject, whichever platform you have to be watching on, whether it's Lick Library or whether it's Guitar Interactive Magazine, whichever YouTube channel, whichever Facebook channel you happen to be on, give this video a thumbs up, share it with your guitar playing friends. We'd love to get this out to as many guitar players as is humanly possible because we love hanging out with you guys. Anyway, we'll say some hellos. Before we do that, quick word on the guitar. Today I'm of course playing this fella. This is my PRS McCarty 594. Now I love myself a 594. To me it's like the Les Paul of the PRS range. I also need to make a very quick adjustment to the amplifier because I was tracking some of the heavies to the day, and I make a very small adjustment to the Super Kraken when we're tracking the heavy stuff. When it's time for leads, it's mids at 1 o'clock and treble at 12 o'clock, and then I flip those for the heavy stuff. So heavy stuff, it's treble at 1 o'clock and mids at noon. For the leads, it's the opposite. So it's literally the difference between, as far as I'm concerned, difference between this tone, which is the treble up, mids, neutral, and this tone, which is mids up, treble neutral. Very, very similar. But that extra little juice, an extra little kind of, I guess, rolled offness on the high end, that makes a big difference to me. So anyway, folks, we don't know what guitar you're playing today. So let us know in the comments which instrument you happen to be playing on. I'm playing my 594. We'd love to hear from you because you guys have got some very cool guitars. And then we'll talk more about practice and how you can improve your practice with just 10 minutes, which is nice. So let's start with Mike Seedorf, who was the first one through the door. Mike, it's great to see you. says, hello, Nick. Everybody else who is here for another Monday of guitar knowledge we all lack. That is definitely not true. You guys have got plenty knowledge, but it's always nice to share. And I'm always glad that I get to share my knowledge with you guys. So he is playing his 2021 Made in Japan RG565 reissue. Very cool. With Jalen pickups. I don't think I'm familiar with those. I'm going to go and check those out. How do you like them is the question. Like, what's going on with those pickups and what do you like so much about them? Because I'm always interested to learn about pickups. Our friend Marcin is tuning in, playing his PRS CE24, great choice, through his Boss GX100, nice rig, love a bit of that. PJ is here, our friend Justin Ray is in the house. He says his pupil has pain in his left forearm for almost, or has had pain in his left forearm for almost the entire time he's been playing the guitar, 6 months. I recommend he sees a doctor or GP, and he's recommended, and he's been informed that he seems to have tendinitis. Ooh, that's gross. Not much fun at all, so I'm sorry to hear that, man. We got some questions about how to practice with as little as tension as possible so as not to aggravate the tendinitis yet maintain a steady rate of progress. Talking back to a basic chord exercise and a 2-finger version of the famous spider exercise without the thumb being involved. These are all good choices, Justin, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you some recommendations on this based upon the current evidence on pain and injury, not specifically in the guitar, but pain and injury full stop. It's a complex topic, but something that we'll wade into. But do bear in mind when we get to that, I am not a doctor, so just somebody who consumes a lot of evidence-based like fitness and rehab content. Helmet Strap is tuning in, playing a PRS 25th anniversary. Got a lot of PRS love in the house. 25th anniversary 245 Mira, very interesting. That sounds like a really cool guitar. I love those PRS Miras. I wonder what happened to them, because they seem to be quite short-lived with the Mira and the Starlo. And I never got my hands on one to keep, so I don't know, I might try and pick one of those up at some point, but super cool, love a bit of that. Kim the Big Boss is tuning in from, I presume, his own sofa. Normally Kim is watching when we're down in Romford, in the studio down that way. Kim is usually watching from the sofa. I presume he's watching from his own sofa today. We were ships in the night at the Birmingham Guitar Show as well. I think Kim was down on the Saturday, I was down on the Sunday. For anybody who was down at Birmingham, it was a good show. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Cranker Tom is in the house. Says, hi Nick, hey Monday crowd. I'm playing my 87 Neon Yellow RG 550. Good choice. Straight into the Embrini MP1 software. That's an interesting choice. I've got a friend who has the MP1 software and really, really likes it. Very cool. Troy, our real name is Troy, love a bit of that, is playing the Gold can't speak, easy for me to say. Les Paul Gold Top, plugged into the classic Digitech RP 355 and the DSL 40. Oh, interesting. So no mini stack today. Love a bit of that. DSL's great amps. Very, very nice indeed. Foghorn is tuning in with an orange soloist. Oh, I'm so jealous. I'd love a soloist. Love a soloist. Craig is joining us tonight. Well, hello, Craig. It's great to see you. Mal Riley's tuning in. Since it's about practice, you'll get out a Schecter Damien 8-string. Wow. Impressive stuff. I don't have an 8-string. I feel like I should have one. I have a 7-string, but no 8-string. Plenty of baritones as well, though. Steve Ford is in the house. Block 18's tuning in. He's got his telly fired up. My friend Paul's tuning in, playing an SG through a high watt. Very nice. Oh, a high watt on his Fender Toastmaster Pro. Very cool indeed. A new friend. Great to have you on board, my man. Thank you so much for coming in. Tell your friend we're glad that they sent you here. Who else do we have? Steve Ford says, nice sound. Thanks, man. Mr. Megafish is here. Simon 3 Hodges is tuning in with his jam. Our friend Michael is tuning in. Hey, thanks for having us, man. Thanks for coming along. Really appreciate it. Dave Blaze is tuning on. Tired of this guitarist with crappy, boring licks. That's a shame, Dave. I'm sorry. I'm sorry you couldn't stick around, bro. I'm looking at your profile picture. You are playing with significant passion. Thanks, Dave. I appreciate your input. Don't you love people? Steve Louth is tuning in. Says, howdy, folks. JP15 Purple Nebula, love a bit of that. Oh, this is the Craig in question. Craig, it's great to have you, man. Thanks for joining us. Jerome Brown Jr. is tuning in. My friend Craig is tuning in. Freshman Ren at the Birmingham Guitar Show. He can fix your practice in 10 minutes, but not his hair. My hair needs a bit more than 10 minutes, let me tell you. That was a clip at the show. I don't know what's going on there. It's bizarre. A question from Marcin. How do you practice songwriting? That's a very interesting question. We will get to that. We will get to that. We've got a Samick through a Spark Go with an Invader in the bridge. We've got a Blade RH4. We've got a Music Man Luke. We've got a Pacifica 611. Love a bit of that. Can you play Headed for a Heartbreak? I cannot, right? This is my friend Ian, running joke about Kip Winger and myself. Thanks, Ian. Thanks for tuning in. I'm going to come and see you for coffee soon, I promise. We'll bring the missus. My friend Mike Seedorf is also tuning in. Ooh, this is very cool. He's got a Floyd, what is this now? Let me get this right. A Jalen guitar with Floyd. Oh, I think I'm reading this wrong. Yeah, cool, very cool. Love these pickups, match the color of my guitar. Sick, very, very cool indeed. I just read that completely wrong. So anyway, let's get down into the meat of the thing, which is fixing practice in 10 minutes. And it's a slightly misleading thing, because we have an hour together. We're not going to fix it in 10 minutes, but rather we're going to show you a few strategies that you can use to practice in 10 minutes. Now, this is a bit of an ask, because if we have an unlimited amount of time to practice, we can effectively train or practice all of the qualities that we're ever going to want to develop with our guitar playing. But if we are trying to practice within 10 minutes, we've really got to be a little selective about things. So let's start by talking about some qualities that we may want to develop with our guitar playing. And this is going to allow us to define our terms when it comes to practice versus some other things we might do in the guitar. Now, you guys are well aware that I have my own little definitions of practice and other definitions of other things you can do in the guitar. And I'm going to quickly outline those right now. So, I am of the belief that there are, in essence, like 4 things that you can be doing with the guitar at any given time. One of them is performing, right? Performing is where you are playing a piece of music that is, you might say it's something that you've already learned, or you're improvising something. Your objective is to make music. So when we are performing, it might be something like this, where, say for example, I'm going to play this backing track. I'm going to try and play some stuff that is coherent, that is together, and that actually makes some lick of musical sense. So I might try something like this. Let's get that track on. So when I'm playing that stuff, there's no sense of challenge to it, in terms of, it's challenging because I'm trying to play cool stuff, but I'm not trying to develop my abilities as a guitar player. That's what we consider to be performance. So if you are playing a pre-learned piece of music, something you already know, or you are playing an improvisation where your objective is to literally make music, is to play the coolest and most cogent thing that you can play, then that's our goal at this point, right? That is our goal at this point. So, next thing we can talk about in terms of our guitar playing state is we can be noodling. Noodling is another thing that we can do. And this is something that we are guilty of as guitar players quite a lot, because we love to sit down and just play around with the guitars. We can noodle until the cows come home. I know that I certainly can, right? I can sit and I can just mess around on my instrument and spend all day doing precisely nothing. It's different to performance, because our objective here is not to make music. Our objective here is to have fun with the guitar. So we can have a bit of fun with the guitar by doing something like this, where we might just sit and just mess around with our brain off the game and just play some scales or play some licks and maybe make some cogent stuff, but that's not really what we're shooting for. So we might get something like this. And here I can check my emails while I'm doing it, so let's actually check my emails, see what's going on here. I got some spam coming in. My car insurance is due. That's interesting. Good fun. Very, very noodly. So I'm having a good time there. I'm not really giving too much focus into what I'm playing. So the reason I bring this up is to define, I'm going to close my emails now, otherwise that's going to get distracting. It's to define the things that we do when we are not playing the guitar. Right, so we're not practicing rather. We are playing the guitar, but we're not practicing. We can be noodling, which is where we just mess around, or we can be performing, which is where our goal is to make music. This leads me to practice, which is the other states that we can occupy. And for this, I have two little sub-states, but practice is where we play the guitar with the purpose or the intent of improving one or more aspects of our musicianship as guitar players. We are literally attempting to challenge our abilities, to grow our abilities, to improve our skills, to skill up our guitar playing, so to speak. And this is the essence of practice. And everything we play when we practice, certainly if we are time-bound and we've got a short amount of time to practice with, should be geared towards this outcome of improving our guitar playing skills. So this is where things get interesting, because if we only have a short amount of time, we can't afford to mess around with how much we're improving our skills. We can't afford to be spending some time noodling and spending some time practicing and maybe practicing random things and hoping they'll stick. So if this is you, let me do a little bit of a bit of unfocused practice and show you what it might look like. So I'm going to do some unfocused practice. I'm going to throw my backing track on and just sit and play some stuff in the G major scale because it's appropriate for this backing track. Some of it will resemble practice, some of it not so much. And I might go like this. You get the drill, right? We've all done that. We've all done this sort of thing where we sit down and convince ourselves that we're practicing because we have a lot of time to play the guitar, but we're not really working on anything. And the things we are working on, we're not really facing the challenge, so to speak. So let's get into that then. Let's get into how we can take our 10 minutes of practice and really make it worthwhile. And the first thing we can do is embracing the challenge. We've embraced the challenge that we are imposing on ourselves by practicing. And in order for practice to actually do something, it has to pose a challenge to us. Now, how much challenge we can talk about in a second, but let's imagine another thing that we might do with practice. Let's imagine we're not practicing guitar, but rather we're trying to improve our fitness capabilities in some way. Let's say that you are trying to, I always talk about lifting weights, so let's maybe talk about like something else. Let's talk about improving your cardiovascular fitness, right? Improving your cardio, so to speak. So something that powerlifters like me, we just don't do. But I'm joking. So anyway, let's imagine that you are trying to improve your fitness level and you decide that the way you're going to do this is by running. So you're going to go for a run. Now, there is an amount of running that you can do that will provide you with no fitness improvements at all. Let's imagine that the amount of running you do is you run from your sofa to the kitchen, wherever you are. It may be a short run and maybe a slightly longer run if you have a huge house. If you're living in a van, it may be an absolutely tiny run. But let's imagine you're running a teeny tiny amount. It's maybe like 6 or 7 steps, right? That is not going to present a significant enough challenge to you to provoke a fitness adaptation. Similarly though, let's imagine that you have one of those crazy curvy treadmills that you see all the time, and you set it to full, you set it to maximum, and it's as fast as you can possibly go, just like the craziest speed that like no human and your few gazelles can achieve. And you get on this treadmill and it immediately shoots you out the other side. It's just way too fast. There's nothing you can do that is productive there. This represents two ends of a spectrum of difficulty, two ends of a spectrum of challenge, where one is too challenging to accomplish anything. You just get shot out the end of the treadmill and you don't do anything. Maybe you just get hurt a little bit. The other one is where it is too little. It's not challenging enough to do anything. And somewhere in the middle is a sweet spot where, let's say, for example, you run and you get a little bit out of breath and then you stop for a little bit and then you do it again and then you go home and shower. So that's something where it's like, there's a challenge. I've probably done some exercise for the day. Similarly, with lifting weights, because that's my sort of deal, we could argue, let's say, for example, you're trying to improve your deadlift, because deadlifts are my jam. So you could go in and deadlift a plectrum. You could take a plectrum, put it on the floor and go, oh, pick that up. Oh, and put it back down. That is unlikely to represent enough of a stimulus to improve your strength in the deadlift pattern. Similarly though, you could go and put the world record deadlift on the bar, which is currently 510 kilos. You could put that in the bar and you could attempt to pick it up and it wouldn't move. Unless your name is Hathor Bjornsson, in which case, hi Thor, thanks for tuning in. How do you not break guitars in half with your enormous hands? So anyway, you could do that. That's also not going to accomplish anything. But somewhere in the middle is a sweet spot where it's hard enough to be challenging, but not so hard as to be impossible. And that is where our practice needs to live. So I'm going to propose some exercises and we're going to see if we can find a sweet spot for you guys where this is going to be not hard, well, not impossible, but it's going to be challenging. And we'll begin with the easy end of the spectrum. So for this, the exercise will be the G major scale and we'll ascend in groups of 4. In fact, so that I can show you both hands, I'll go to these cameras. So G major ascending in 4s. We'll turn the delay off just so we know what's going on here. So G major scale in this instance is going to be, the shape we'll use will be 3, 5, 7, 3, 5, 7, 4, 5, 7, 4, 5, 7, 5, 7, 8, 5, 7, 8. There's our scale. We're going to play this ascending in 4s, which means we play 4 notes up, then we go to the next note, 4 notes up, go to the next note, 4 notes up, go to the next note, 4 notes up, 4 notes up, 4 notes up. In this little paradigm, we're going to play along with some drums and we're going to see if we can find a place where this becomes challenging. And we're going to start with an absurd example where it will almost certainly not be challenging. Let's creep the tempo down to 80 BPM and we'll play this in half notes where we play 1, another note, 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 like this. I mean, it'll take forever. The drums up. Here the challenge is actually just remembering to do the thing and just concentrating. But almost certainly for anybody watching this stream, ascending in 4s. Oh, I remembered the thing. Whoops, spoke too soon there. Ascending in 4s at this pace should not represent that much of a challenge. Let me know if this is something that you're okay playing, and let me know if it represents too much of a challenge already. But it should be something that is comparatively easy for most of us to play. If it's a little too hard, then I apologize, but it should be okay. Now, let's do the same thing, but this time let's try it in quarter notes, which will be here. So we'll play. Now this should still be reasonably easy. For some of you, you'll start to feel a little bit of challenge. And when I say a little bit, I do mean a little bit. It shouldn't be hugely difficult, unless you've never played this exercise before. If this is brand new to you, then fair enough. Now that should be fairly within spec, but you may be experiencing some moments there of like, ugh, what's going on with my hands? So if you have these moments where maybe you just about get the note, but you're having to struggle for it and you're going, oh, and your brain's going and you're starting to really have to concentrate, this is what I will colloquially refer to as the O. It's a little too soon in the stream to swear, but it's the O-S-H-I-T moment where you go, oh, sh, and then like, oh, sh, oh, sh, oh. You know what I'm talking about, where your brain, your body, and your hands just sort of go like, I've kind of got it, but I kind of haven't. Now, we can advance this up to the point where those OSH moments appear more, and we can also advance them to the point where they completely disappear because it's unplayable. So, let's go to, not these cameras, but rather these cameras, keep hitting the wrong foot switch, and we'll go up to, any tips for 70-year-old fingers, says our friend Sybil. We'll get to that. 70-year-old fingers, I don't personally believe that 70-year-old fingers, unless you have some kind of like maybe an arthritic condition or something, but if you just have healthy fingers and you're 70-year-old, I don't think it makes a huge difference. I think you will need to practice in the same ways that everybody else will, but as we'll talk about in this stream, you'll need to find an appropriate amount of practice and all that stuff. So, but we'll get to that because it's a very good question. Okay, let's try this going a little faster. So we're going to go from our quarter notes at 80 up to quarter notes at 100, and let's see where that goes. Sybil, I'm just going to hide your question because we'll come back to that. I've got it starred for the Q&A at the end, so we'll do Q&A at the very end. If I go, that's too fast. That's 8 notes. So this should still be reasonably easy. So as we don't labor this, let's go a little bit further. Let's get up to 120. A 1, 2, 3, 4. So on and so forth. Let's get to 60 BPM, but this time we'll do 8th notes. We'll go straight to 80, in fact, because we've just done 120. So there's our pace. We'll go 3, 4. Everyone still with us? Let me know in the comments if you are. Should still be good. Let's get up to 100 and see where that gets us to. 3, 4. Everyone's still good. Let's keep going. Let's get up to 120. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, everyone's still good. Let's get to 80 and we'll do 16th notes. Ready? Try it again. So if you count in this time, here we go. Everyone's still with us. That's 16th notes at 80. Let's go to 16th at 100. 1, 2, 3, 4. Nice, let's keep going a little bit further. We'll get up to 120, 16th notes. Let us know if you're still with us. 2, 3, 4. May still be challenging, but it may be still a little too easy for some of you. Let's get up to 140. So we're right up in the dusty end of the tempo range right now. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's becoming challenging for me with the picking, but let's try it again. 3, 4. So for me, that's getting to an appropriate level for practice. But let's go a little further. Let's get to 150. See where we get to. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. Getting there. Let's get up to 165 because it's there. Why not? Anyone still with us? Let's see. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, that messed it up entirely. Let's go again. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. Nope, not having that. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a little hard. So that's a little too fast for me at this point. So again, for me, practice this a lot with legato. Haven't practiced a huge amount with picking, but that's okay because all is well. So what was I going to say? Now, the thing with this is like it's about finding this appropriate level of challenge, this appropriate level of difficulty where it's hard enough, but it's not like mega, mega, mega hard. So we're looking for a point where things start to feel a little bit challenging. It's difficult to maintain accuracy, difficult to maintain cleanliness. You might start to make the odd mistake, but it's not quite like that 165 example where things are just really friggin' hard, right? So we've got some folks saying they hit a wall at 130. Some folks are still going. Some folks are still powering on at some crazy tempos. So that's impressive stuff, by the way. If you guys have still got that, that is really serious. But hopefully it should still be demonstrative of where the challenge lies. So if I was going to practice that skill specifically, I'd be looking at hitting that around the 140, 150 mark, because it's challenging enough for me to represent a skill improvement, but it's not so challenging that I keep messing it up and I can't play it at all. So I would probably creep that over time, but that's certainly a good place to be. So finding this spot where we're starting to get these moments of like, oh dear, this is challenging. We're past the halfway point now, so I can swear. So these oh shit moments, that's kind of what we're looking at in terms of challenge, in terms of difficulty, if that makes any sense to you. Now, next thing to take a look at is what it is that we're trying to practice. Because if we're trying to practice one skill, all we really need to do is take a single exercise and play that for 10 minutes. So for me, I could take that exercise, I could play it at 145 BPM, square down the middle, and that would improve my abilities to play this scale in ascending fourths, which would give me this. This is what a practice would look like, and I would do this for 10 minutes. Ooh, again. And again. And again. And so on and so forth. I would sit and practice that for hours and hours and hours on end, or in our case 10 minutes, and I would get better at that. But here's the thing, if you're trying to get better within a 10-minute context, we also need to look at what it is that you're trying to get better at. So we've determined how hard practice should be. And this is difficult because practice needs to be challenging enough, but can't be like super challenging, as in like kill you to death kind of challenging. So what else do we need to consider? Well, we need to consider the things that we're trying to grow as guitar players, things that we're trying to improve upon. And this fundamentally boils down to a few big skills, let's say. And if we're practicing for 10 minutes and that's all we got, we should probably be looking at challenging as many of these skills as we can. I'll propose some solutions for you on that in a second. So the skills are as follows. We have your physical technique on the instrument, your raw capability at playing notes, your physical hands, so to speak. We also have your ability to conceptualize music and visualize it on the guitar, which is your fretboard knowledge, your understanding of music theory, your knowledge of scales, shapes, chords, notes, etc. This we might consider to be your theory and fretboard knowledge, or you might call it your head. So we have hands, raw technique on the guitar, head, your knowledge and your understanding of the instrument. And the last one, my friend Nick Harrison beautifully summed up as repertoire and contribution. For this, I will use the term heart, stolen from Steve Vai, which is your musicianship, your craft, your vocabulary, your touch, your unique voice on the instrument, which is separate to your physical technique. It is separate to your understanding of the guitar. It's something that is more to do with your actual musicality, i.e., are you playing things that sound good? And are you playing things that you like the sound of? And going slightly further than this, are unique to you as a musician? So let's talk about ways that we can challenge each of these. We're going to begin with the most basic one, which is, we've got some questions, by the way, about the exercise. I'm going to address this first, by the way. What finger are you using when you're crossing the B and G? I'm not sure. Let's find out. So I'm playing this. Okay, so I'm playing 1, 2, 3, 1, and then rolling my first finger back. So yeah, so it's 1, 2, 3, sorry, 1, 2, 4, 1, 1, 3, 1, 3, 3, 1, 3, 4. Now I know some folks will play it like this. Myself, I always prefer to roll to that multiple finger thing. And descending, little slide. That's how I'm fingering that. So it is normal to get a little tongue-tied on those. So yeah, it's one of those exercises that's a little bit on the weird side, so to speak. So anyway, exercise aside, you got any more questions about that, I will address that. We've also got one here with anything over 130, I start economy picking. That's kind of normal too. So I think for a lot of folks, certainly with this lick, I'm labouring on the exercise here, but we'll get to the practice stuff in a second. You can't play it with economy pick. You can't play the whole thing with economy picking, if that makes sense. The challenge is in the first little set of 4, because we can either fully economy pick that with down, up, down, down, but then what do we do for this? And we also can't fully economy pick it because as soon as we've done this, we finished the first little couplet with an upstroke. Yeah, so you can economy pick it, but it would be, like you've said, a mix of economy picking and alternate picking. I do the same with some stuff. Personally, I'm of the belief that it doesn't matter. Like, if you're picking, then you're good. Although we have done some demonstrations where I've tried to show you alternate picking and economy picking with a black screen, and you guys have been able to tell the difference. So there is maybe a difference in sound. I would argue the difference in sound is probably negligible compared to your ability to actually execute the thing that you're trying to play. Anyway, let's get into how we can challenge all of our stuff all at once. So, first things first is we challenge our technique, our hands, by allowing ourselves the opportunity to explore things that the hands can't quite do yet. So ways you might do this are usually it's with speed, but there are other things that we can do to challenge our physical technique, and it can be with things like restrictions. So for example, a fun way to challenge our physical technique is to employ things like missing finger games, or to employ accent certain finger games. It's really quite good. If we wanted to do something that is, let's say, a little bit slower in its pace, and we didn't want to use speed as a way of challenging ourselves. So very quickly, I'm going to go to a clean sound, and I'm going to show you what's going on here. Is it bad to always use alternate picking? Absolutely not. It's important to find the technique that works for you, and then just lean into that. So if economy picking is for you, if alternate picking is for you, if some blend is for you, just lean into it. Whatever it is that you find easiest, and you find is the best thing, the thing that works best for you, lean into that, because for every guitar player that has a pure alternate picking technique or a pure economy picking technique or anything like that, you will find just as many great guitar players that do the opposite. Ultimately, there are lots of ways to make this work, and it's just about finding a way that works for you, and not worrying too much about the fact that, oh, I'm alternate picking, should I be economy picking, or vice versa, economy picking, should I be alternate picking, or should I be playing legato here? I don't think it really matters. Like, whatever helps you get the notes out, that's the one. And if you want to work on some of the stuff, then you can, because it's always cool to have more tricks to your bow. But I think worrying about it is probably not the thing to do. Just play it the way that it works, and experiment with ways until you find the one that works, if that makes sense, which hopefully it does. So let's move on to a fun little game for this, which is a way of challenging our technique without using speed. And this in turn will allow us to challenge other aspects of our musicianship. So we're going to take the G major scale. We'll be improvising in the G major scale, but I'm going to set you a fixed tempo for this. And the fixed tempo is going to be something like this. Here's our backing track. In fact, I keep going to these cameras, but I'll go to these cameras because these cameras are fun. This is the speed we're going to play at. So it's 8 notes. what I want you to do is every time you play your middle finger, I want you to accent it. And every other finger, no accents. Let's actually make this easier on ourselves by going to quarter notes. So every time we play the middle finger, we'll accent. And every time we play any other finger, no accents. It doesn't have to be the middle finger, that's just what we'll do for this. So I'll play this. I think I need to turn the backing track down slightly and turn my amp up very slightly. Give me 1 second, I'll just quickly turn this up. So we've got a bit more volume to play with. So let's try that again, accenting the middle finger. You'll find this quite challenging, I'm sure, but I'm gonna play like this. 2, 3, 4. So no accents here. This will challenge your physical technique. Very much, because it's challenging your ability to be in control, of what it is that you're playing. No middle finger up here. Accenting the chromatics. Take a turn and let me know how you get on. So this is a fun way to improve your physical control on the instrument. I missed one, I'll go back and get it. Without having to reach for speed, which allows us in turn to employ some other aspects into our practice. So we can take the same idea of allowing some kind of physical technique challenge, but then because it's a little slower, we can start to incorporate some other areas of challenge, such as fretboard knowledge and such as visualization and your musicality too. So let's try imposing an extra layer of challenge on this. We're going to continue improvising, and this is something you can do for 10 minutes and it will be good. You can continue improvising, but this time what we might do is we might set ourselves some target notes. And we might say the target note in this case is going to be D. And we'll say that every time we hit D, we're going to employ an accent. We'll do something to make it pop, to give ourselves some kind of challenge. This is something where if I said to you, just improvise over this backing track, it'd be the easiest thing in the world. But if I said to you, improvise over this backing track and accent every D note, wow, you need to know where the D notes are, you need to have the physical technique to play them, and physical technique to execute the accents, and you also need to have the sensibility of, hey, what is an accent and what is not. It's quite a big challenge. I'm actually gonna go to my plexi sound for this, because I like the plexi sound, and on we go with the D note. John Page in the comments with the puns. Let's see if we can get that. So I'm going to play this. 2, 3, 4. Oh, that should be an accent. Surprisingly tricky. Now, if you played along at home, I'm sure you would have found that surprisingly difficult unless you've done a lot of this stuff already. Now, the reason this is so difficult, the reason this is so challenging, is because it interleaves several aspects of your guitar practice. There are several things you have to monitor all at once, and it's a concept called interleaved practicing, which is why I use the term interleaved, where we work on multiple qualities simultaneously, which reinforces all of the other qualities because it presents us with another unique challenge. We're having to respond musically to something physical, i.e. we have a physical stimulus, which is we have a musical stimulus, which is we hit the D, we hear the D, we need to locate it visually on the guitar and understand where it is, and also understand the concept of D as a note. And then we also have to then physically play it louder and assess with our ears, was it louder, was it not? This is something where if you employ a practice strategy like this, now to be clear, this is not the magic exercise. This is just an example of a strategy you might use. You can use this strategy to challenge multiple aspects of your guitar playing simultaneously, which in turn gives you significant amounts of skill stimulus, significant amounts of challenge over a little 10-minute period. So it is 100% worth doing if you are like short on time. But let's talk about some other things we could do. So another personal favorite of mine is to take some elements of your guitar playing and restrict them. So if, say for example, we wanted to continue with this improvisation theme, which I think works really well, we could start to remove some toys from your toy box, which will force you in turn to play different stuff, which is cool, but it will also present you with a challenge in terms of your visualization, in terms of your physical technique, and also in terms of your musicality. So what we may do is we may take the idea of improvising in the G major scale, but removing the root note. It can be any note, but I'll just remove the root note. So we'll be playing in G major, I won't play any G notes, and we'll see how this gets tricky quickly. And I'm going to ask you to play along. If you've got your guitars, grab them, we're going to play along. So no G notes, should be interesting. Those of you who remember the pentatonic lessons from last month, I played one. Surprisingly difficult, right? Now, this also represents a challenge for us as guitar players. It doesn't have to be improvisation based, but this is a really fun challenge because what we are also getting here is we're getting some challenge on our ability to visualize. We're getting challenge on our ability to audiate, i.e. to imagine with our ears what it is that we're trying to play ahead of actually playing the thing. And finally, in addition to this, sorry, my watch is doing crazy things at me. Let's just turn that off. It also challenges our physical technique because it's breaking habits that we have with our hands, like habits of let me always reach for this same lick that I play all the time, for example. And your hands having to respond in real time to the challenges that you're presenting with your practice. So before we go to the questions, let me quickly sum this up because we could sit and talk about this all day, but here's what we do if we're trying to practice in 10 minutes. The first thing we do is we acknowledge that we need to make our practice hard enough to, so here's an interesting one. So should I approach practicing like my wife, 2 minutes of focused effort? Terrible. Terrible. Zero comment. You guys are free to comment in the comment section. I shall remain impartial on this. But 10 minutes of focused effort goes a very long way. So yes, it should be, you should determine how difficult your practice should be ahead of time. Can't stop laughing at that. So yes, determine how difficult your practice should be ahead of time. And that is something that will modulate depending on the exercise you're playing. But as long as it's difficult enough, challenging enough, then you're good. It shouldn't be so challenging that you can't play it, but it should be challenging enough to provoke an adaptation. And then what we should also be doing is looking for ways to challenge the three cornerstones of our guitar playing, which are our hands, physical technique, our head, our ability to visualize and understand the fretboard, and our heart, so to speak, which is the musicality. I stole these from Steve Vai, by the way. Hands, head, heart. Love a bit of that. I think that's just a really nice way of summing it up. And if you can get that done for 10 minutes, 10 minutes of difficult enough that gives you challenge for both your head, your hand, and your heart, then you have accomplished everything we need to accomplish in a practice session. And you can get it done in 10 minutes. Do it in 10 minutes. 10 minutes of that, you are all good. If you want some ideas on what to practice, you want some thoughts on, well, actually, Nick, that's all cool, but what should I actually practice? Let me show you some stuff here. So very quickly, I'm going to give you a little peek at this. This is a course that I want to show you. This is my, oh, I need to find the things. Bear with me 1 second. Let's just quickly share this tab. This course was available on licklibrary.com. This is practice templates. There's one from Sam Bell. A little bit of that. Arpeggio etudes. Yeah, this is practice templates, which essentially gives you a templatized version of practice. So we've got exercise selection for technique, fretboard knowledge, vocabulary. We've got some stuff on scheduling and adaptation. We've got some general principles. This is all available to you guys as part of your Lick Library member. And we've got a little bit on me as well, which is quite nice. There you go, I'm there too. We've got some structuring a session stuff. This is very much worth your time. It's available as part of your Lick Library membership. If you want some more guidance on this, I think that is probably where I would send you. So go check that out at your earliest convenience. It's down in the description below. But we are going to take some time to answer a few questions. So let's start with the startup questions. We're going to begin with the deal with Justin Ray's pupil, because this is something that's been on my mind since you said it. It's an important question, which is to say your student or your pupil has been having forearm pain and tendinitis. So, the first question, I beg your pardon, the first question with this, Justin, is to assess whether or not your student has pain specifically when playing the guitar, i.e. the guitar is the thing that provokes the pain, and or whether it's something that's generalized, i.e. it happens like all of the time. So if it's guitar specific, if the student feels pain and discomfort, mostly when practicing the guitar, then we need to address it with guitar playing things if they want to continue making progress. But similarly, if the thing is just generalized, then there's a general rehab protocol that needs to be gone through. So let's talk about how we might rehabilitate it as a guitar player. So generally speaking, with all things that are injury related, it is almost always to do with the total amount of stress that's being put on the body, or the part of the body that is experiencing an injury at this point in time. Again, remember with this, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a rehab professional. This is just somebody who's consumed a lot of this stuff. If you want some good resources, I really recommend the guys at Barbell Medicine for this. And I think Adam Meekins has some really good content on this sort of stuff. There's lots of good evidence-based physio and rehab stuff out there, is what I'll say. But yeah, Barbell Medicine, very, very good. So anyway, the total amount of stress being put on the system, being put on the hand that is experiencing, on the forearm that's experiencing tendinitis, is usually what provokes the, let's say, the maladaptive response, the adaptive response of the tendons to be painful and to be inflamed. And what we need to do is we need to find a way to bring down that perception of pain and bring down that experience of pain while also provoking enough of an adaptation to allow the tendons to heal. What I'm saying with this is we need to find an entry point where the guitar is not painful. Now, what I would begin by suggesting is I would suggest, first of all, encouraging a student to switch to a lighter setup on the guitar if they aren't doing so already. Oftentimes this can just anecdotally, this can be the answer. So consider asking your student to maybe play eights for a while. Maybe give them a set of eights, or ask them to go and buy a set of eights, put them on the guitar for them, and ask them to play with those for a period of time. This will allow you to continue making skill adaptations, assuming this actually stops pissing off the area, so to speak. It will allow them to continue practicing and continue making progress while taking some of the physical load off the structures, because eights are physically easier to play. They take less strength to play the guitar, so to speak. Other things that we can do is we can encourage a very light touch. So we can encourage the student to play very conservatively with their touch and allow them to explore how little effort they have to put into the guitar. Maybe they're just death gripping an awful lot. That could be a thing. Additionally to this setup and all that sort of stuff, we can also measure amount of time that's being played. So I would start with these. I start with setup, and then I'd move to touch, and then I move to the amount of time, because these are all things that determine how much physical stress is being put onto the hands. What you might think about this as is some combination of weight, if you want to think in lifting terms, weight, i.e. how much force is being exerted by the hand, and number of reps, i.e. playing time. So if we imagine that it wasn't your hands, but imagine you had like a biceps tendon, which is quite common, the biceps tendon issue. And what you're doing is you're doing biceps curls in the gym, and you do loads and loads and loads of curls. There would be an amount of weight that you could use that would not upset the tendon greatly. So let's say, for example, you're used to curling 20 kilos and you go down to 2 kilos. There'd probably be an appropriate amount of weight at 2 kilos that will not upset the tendon. If we then move to 4 kilos, it might be a little too much, so maybe we regress to 2. If there is no amount of weight that you can tolerate, we'll get to that. That's another story. Similarly, you may find that you can actually do the normal amount of weight or a comparative normal amount of weight, but you just can't do very many reps with it before it gets angry. In this case, we would modulate both the repetitions and we'd modulate the weight, or some combination of the two. And for guitar, the way we do this, once again, is with an easier setup on the instrument, i.e. lighter strings, lower action, etc., combined with a reduction or a restriction in total playing time. Now, if this is something that still gives them grief, this is why we start to look at exercise selection, i.e. we look at the things that they're doing in the guitar that physically provoke the issue. So what you could do is you could look at some chords, for example, and say if chords are causing the problem, then we'll step away from that and we'll move to playing some single note lines. And we'll focus our practice on playing single note efforts. But if the opposite is true, if playing single notes causes problems, but playing chords doesn't, and this is just an experimentation process, you find the thing that causes the least problems and allow the student to live there for a while and structure the lessons around that, so to speak. A final thought on this, though, is that with our tendon adaptations, we actually want to provoke just a tiny amount of discomfort. So we don't want to go into this with the aim of it always being a completely pain-free experience. We cannot live pain-free lives, and we shouldn't be pain-free when we're rehabbing an injury. However, the amount of pain or discomfort the student experiences should be small and tolerable. And a good way to think about this is with a scale of 1 to 10. If you can keep them somewhere around like a 2 or 3 out of 10, that's a good place to be, because what it means is we're actually provoking adaptation in the tendons, but we're not provoking so much, we're not providing so much stress and so much stimulus that it becomes a problem. That was a big answer, a big deep dive on that. So hopefully that's been useful for you. But again, I would encourage you to go check out Barbell Medicine's content in this, because they are absolutely on the money with all this sort of stuff. So last question we'll get to very quickly, which is our friend Marcin. How do you practice a session specifically for songwriting? I would set myself the goal of a time-bound amount of time to write a song. I would give myself restrictions to work within, so maybe a lyrical theme or maybe a set of chords, and give yourself an amount of time. We did this quite recently with the most recent Saints of Arcadia single, where we gave ourselves the goal of writing a 1-4-5 and we gave ourselves 24 hours to write it. 48 hours it worked out as. So something like that, you could say, okay, I'm going to write a song that revolves around a minor 2-5-1. It's going to have lyrics, and the lyrics are going to be about whatever. It's going to be a love song, and I'm going to write lyrics to this, and I'm going to have it finished within this hour. And you write to brief, and then you get to the hour and you stop. So time-bound writing with restrictions is how I do that. Good question, though. Very good question. Folks, we've run out of time. Once again, it's been a lot of fun. Today has been the first of our series on quick wins. We're going to have more of this coming over the next few weeks. But in the meantime, for the time being rather, got my words mixed up, I'm going to play out in the same backing track. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up on whatever platform you happen to be watching on. Subscribe if you haven't done so already, and consider going to the other platform. If you're a Lick Library viewer, go to Guitar Interactive. If you're a Guitar Interactive viewer, go to Lick Library. Give us a sub over there as well. And in the meantime, I will see you guys next week. Let's play out in the same track. Very noodly there. Bye.